interview today that CM Punk was not as good or over as he thought it was. Fair or foul, Ronell?
Absolutely foul. I think that, and I know we just touched on this before we had started recording. This has got to be a company thing, because and I also think that this lends more legitimacy to Punk coming to AEW. Hoping that it's tomorrow, that the big payoff is while he's at home. But yeah, Roman Reigns is completely wrong here. I've been digging everything he's been doing lately, but CM Punk is more over than Roman Reigns ever was as a face. So I don't know what he's talking about.
I mean, that's wrong, just objectively. Like, the Roman Reigns is never close to as over as Punk was as a face. He might be more over as a heel than Punk was as a face, but even that's, I think that Punk started, especially in the summer of 2011, touched rare air that very few people have of being organically over with the crowd. I don't think this was corporate. I actually think,
let's not say organically. They let him leave with the belt.
Well, but I mean, they let him leave with the belt because he organically got over with the crowd.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just saying, though, let's not act like booking didn't. I know they squashed it 2-3 months later and made a mess of it, but I mean, it's a pretty big moment they gave him at Money in the Bank.
And the corporate thing, I again disagree. I think that years ago, Punk broke his silence and did the Colt Cabana podcast, where he talked about the match that he had. I can't remember when it was, between the Shield and Punk squashed them, or didn't squash them, he beat them. It's not fair. And the whole, they were like, oh, we're gonna let you, we want you to win, but we want you to make Roman look strong. And this was right before the Royal Rumble in 2015, and it really just wasn't good. And that became the narrative. It's we got to make Roman look strong. And I think he's been waiting for a chance to get that shot at Punk again.
All right, just to clarify before I give my answer, Ronell said that he's never been as over as a face as CM Punk. So,
my bad. I misheard you. I'm sorry, Ronell.
Got your back, Ronell.
Yeah, thank you for fact checking me. I'm sorry.
That's all good. And he doesn't care. Hell, Ronald didn't even say anything. I disagree though with both of you guys, because look at the quote. CM Punk was not as good or as over as he thought he was. That's a fair statement. CM Punk thought he was the best wrestler in the world. It's all he ever talked about. And to be the top star at WWE, I'm sorry, that's not realistic for him. Yes, he probably was at one time the second biggest star in the company, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if we're talking about CM, John Cena.
It was Cena.
Yeah, Cena. Come on, Sam. Come on, dude. Sam.
I didn't like it either, Sam.
Objectively not more over than him.
Watching.
It's not over. It's money. It's a business, Sam.
Cena wasn't drawing because he was the number one merch seller. He sold more merch
for such a short time, Sam. Come on. Small time compared to basically a 15-year period.
Cena was also doing the Make-A-Wish stuff, so he was crossing over to the other side.
He's a company guy through and through. You have an anarchist and a company guy through and through. Who are you going to go with?
But there was a period where Punk was the most over guy in the company. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. But I mean, he's saying, again, not as good or as over as Punk thought he was. And Punk thinks very highly of himself. I do think WWE pushed him to say it, because he said that in the interview. And he also said in the same interview that, he respects John Cena and all the movies and stuff. And I mean, come on, if he wanted to really heal it up and not, follow a company line, he could have hammered Cena about, look, you spent months bitching at The Rock about how dare you go to Hollywood, and I'll never go to Hollywood. I'll always be a wrestler. And he hasn't touched any of that stuff. And it's because Roman, like Cena, is a company guy. It's why he's going to win on Sunday. They're going to let him go over at SummerSlam because he's a company guy. And that's sort of what Freddie Prinze Jr. was saying in the interview this week, is that they care more in WWE about you doing it their way, even if the result is not great, than they do about you doing something not their way, or them not knowing what you're going to do, even if it is great. So again, I don't really